Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story starts on a quiet street where nothing exciting ever seemed to happen. The kind of place where days blur together and people learn to survive on hope more than luck. Mark Thompson was a poor single dad. The kind of man the world barely noticed. Every morning before sunrise, he tied his worn boots, kissed his sleeping son on the forehead, and left for work with a heart full of worry and love. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier, leaving him with 8-year-old Liam and a mountain of bills he could never quite climb. Mark worked 2 jobs. During the day, he repaired appliances for a small local shop. At night, he stocked shelves at a grocery store until his hands ached and his eyes burned. Still, it was never enough. Eviction notices came and went. The fridge was often half empty, but one thing never changed. Mark's promise to himself that his son would never feel unloved. Liam was a quiet child, thoughtful beyond his years. He rarely asked for toys or treats. Instead, he asked questions about the world, about stars, about why some people had so much while others had so little. Mark never knew how to answer those questions, so he just hugged him tighter. One cold evening, after finishing his second shift, Mark walked home through a light drizzle. The streetlights flickered, casting long shadows on the pavement. As he turned the corner to his small rented house, he noticed 2 tiny figures sitting on the steps. At first, he thought his exhaustion was playing tricks on him, but as he got closer, he froze. 2 little girls sat there, holding hands. They looked identical. Same dark hair, same pale faces, same frightened eyes. Twins, they couldn't have been older than 6. Their clothes were thin, soaked from the rain, and their shoes were falling apart. Mark swallowed hard. Every instinct screamed at danger. People didn't just leave children on doorsteps anymore. Stories like that only happened in movies. Or so he thought. Hey, are you okay? He asked gently, crouching down to their level. The girls looked at each other, then back at him. One of them spoke in a soft, trembling voice. Sir, can we stay here tonight? Mark's heart cracked. Where are your parents? The girl shook her head. We can't say, please. We're scared. Mark felt his chest tighten. He knew better. He knew the risks. He knew he barely had enough for himself and Liam. But when he looked into their eyes, something deeper than logic took over. Come inside, he said quietly. It's cold out here. Inside the house, the girls sat at the small kitchen table while Mark heated up what little food he had left, some soup and a few slices of bread. Liam watched them with curiosity, his eyes wide. Dad, they look the same, Liam whispered. Mark smiled faintly. Yeah, buddy, they're twins. The girls ate slowly, like they weren't used to regular meals. After they finished, Mark gave them clean towels and old clothes that belonged to Liam. The shirts were too big, but they didn't complain. Thank you. One of the twins said. Mark set up blankets on the living room floor. You can sleep here tonight. We'll figure everything out in the morning. As the house grew quiet, Mark lay awake on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Questions flooded his mind. Who were these girls? Why were they alone? Was he making a huge mistake? Sometime after midnight, he heard soft crying. He got up and saw one of the twins awake, hugging her knees. What's wrong? He asked softly. She hesitated, then whispered, They're going to find us. Who? Mark asked. She shook her head. We can't tell you, but you're kind. That's why we came. Mark didn't sleep after that. Morning came too quickly. Sunlight filtered through the curtains as Mark prepared to leave for work. He planned to call social services during his break, to do the right thing. But when he opened the front door, his world stopped. 6 black SUVs were parked across his driveway, blocking the street. Men in dark suits stood outside, speaking quietly into ear. One of them looked up and locked eyes with Mark. Mark's heart slammed into his chest. For a split second, he thought he was about to be arrested. Or worse. One of the men stepped forward. Are you Mark Thompson? Mark nodded, barely able to speak. Sir, we need to talk. Behind him, Liam peeked out, fear written all over his face. The twins stood silently, their hands tightly clasped. Dad, what's happening? Liam whispered. Mark swallowed. Stay inside, buddy. The man in the suit removed his sunglasses. His voice was calm, almost respectful. Sir, please don't be alarmed. We're not here to hurt anyone. Then why are you here? Mark asked, his voice shaking. The man glanced at the twins. Because of them, Mark felt his knees weaken. Inside the house, the men sat around the small kitchen table that barely fit them. It felt unreal, like the house itself was shrinking under the weight of their presence. One of the men spoke. My name is Daniel Cross. I represent a private security firm. These 2 girls are under our protection. Protection? Mark repeated. Daniel nodded. They're the daughters of someone very powerful. Their father has been searching for them all night. The twins looked down, silent. Mark's mouth went dry. Then why were they on my doorstep? Daniel sighed. They ran away. One of the twins finally spoke. We didn't want to go back. Daniel looked at her gently. Your father is worried sick. Mark clenched his fists. Worried people don't let their kids end up alone in the rain. The room went quiet. Daniel studied Mark carefully. Sir, do you know who their father is? Mark shook his head. And I don't care. All I know is they were scared and hungry. Daniel nodded slowly. Their father is a billionaire. Mark let out a bitter laugh. Figures, Daniel continued. He sent us to retrieve them. But before that happens, he insisted we thank you. One of the men placed a thick envelope on the table. Mark didn't touch it. I didn't help them for money, Mark said. Daniel smiled faintly. He expected you to say that. The front door opened again, and a tall man stepped inside. His presence filled the room instantly. Expensive suit, tired eyes. The twins looked up. Dad. The man knelt down in front of them, pulling them into a tight hug. For the first time, Mark saw fear in a billionaire's eyes. Don't ever do that again, the man whispered. He stood and turned to Mark. Alexander Valley. Mark nodded. Mark Thompson. Alexander looked around the house, taking in the cracked walls, the worn furniture, the small signs of struggle. You took care of my daughters, Alexander said quietly. Any decent person would, Mark replied. Alexander shook his head. No, most people wouldn't. He paused, then spoke words Mark would never forget. I want to repay you. Mark sighed. I don't want charity. Alexander smiled slightly. It's not charity, it's gratitude. Mark hesitated. Then help my son have a better future. That's all. Alexander studied him, then nodded. Done. Within weeks, Mark's life changed in ways he never imagined. Liam was enrolled in a top school. Mark's debts vanished. He was offered a stable job with benefits, one that let him be home every evening. But the biggest change wasn't money. The twins visited often. They played with Liam, laughed in the small yard, and brought light into the house. Alexander didn't just keep his promise, he became a friend. One evening, as Mark watched the kids play, Alexander stood beside him. You taught my daughters something, Alexander said. What's that? Mark asked. That kindness exists even when the world is unfair. Mark smiled. They taught me that hope can show up at your door when you least expect it. And as the sun set on that quiet street, the black SUVs were gone. But something far more powerful remained, a reminder that one small act of kindness can change everything.